So a very warm welcome to everybody that's come today to the masterclass um, on Startup Secrets Revealed, and we're going to be talking about a step-by-step method to attract investors to fund your $1 million idea. So we're going to find out whether you have the expertise and the experience to be a successful entrepreneur via this free masterclass designed for people who are aspiring business owners. So, what are we going to learn today? So, first of all, we're going to cover what makes an entrepreneurial mindset and why it's crucial for success as an entrepreneur. Secondly, we'll look at what skills are needed for every successful entrepreneur to develop in order to start a business that is successful. And thirdly, what is the correct process for launching a business, step by step? And why this works, I've got a lot of experience in this area of helping people launch businesses. I teach entrepreneurship at universities, including Greenwich University and Bradford University in the UK. And also for the British Council, I've helped with mentoring startups in what was Eastern Europe, in places like Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan, and also forget the other one. There was one other place which I've helped people, and that's been through the British Council. So I was glad to help with those people. Oh, it was Ukraine, the other place, because it was a project that was designed to try and save cultural artifacts from the bombings in the war. And secondly, I mentor startups and I co-host online summits and conferences. And some of you might have been last Friday to our $1 million idea one-day conference, which was a big success. And if you did, you're very welcome to be here. And if you didn't make it on Friday, we're running a, I'm out of sync. Yeah, we're running a second conference, this time for a week, on the same subject, which is the $1 million idea conference. And we're running that in the week of the 15th to the 19th of September. So in about 2 months' time. So if you're interested in coming to that, we don't yet have a link for you to register, but if you want to put it in your diaries, as I say, it's the 15th to the 19th of September. So you're very welcome to come to that, and we'd be delighted to see you if you choose to come. And thirdly, the reason this works is because the data supports the method. What you can see on the right-hand side there is a list of reasons why startups fail. And a lot of startups, in fact, 90% of startups fail within the first 5 years that they operate. And there are some big reasons why they fail. And the top reason is that there's no market need. And what that actually means is that they forgot to find out whether they've got any customers for what they're offering. So are people prepared to buy the product or invest in a service? And clearly that's very important, because otherwise you're never going to sell to anybody. The second reason, where it says running out of cash, what that means is it's not inward investment to make the business work, but what it is that you spend so much time perhaps looking for that investment that you're kind of on a meter, if you like, and that meter is clocking down the amount of petty cash you've got for doing things like, for example, hosting your website or buying the right domain names, or investing in certain things that you need, or tools or resources that you need just simply to keep going. And the third reason why businesses often fail is that they don't have the right group of people who are working together on the startup. So those are the top three reasons. But with 12Ronnies, as you'll see later, we actually provide training on all of these different reasons as to why businesses fail. So don't worry if I've not covered um, something that you're interested in that list. So if you're thinking about launching a business, then it's a very exciting thing. You should be, enthused. You should be enthusiastic. You should be, wondering what it would be like to run a really successful business. So you can imagine, use your imagination and dream about having a reputation in the future as being a standout entrepreneur with a successful business. That's the dream that a lot of people have got. And secondly, you can dream and imagine that you'll have investors lining up to fund your company. And thirdly, a lot of people dream about launching a business so they can create the lifestyle that they've always wanted and have control over their energy levels, the amount of time they spend working, the amount of money they earn, and other things that are important in their lives, like, for example, relationships with family and friends, or perhaps going on holiday. So I'm here to say to you that it is possible. I mean, all these people, these famous people in these photographs, once started out not being successful. So obviously we have Rihanna with her cosmetics brand, and obviously she's a very successful musician. Got Richard Branson in the middle, who started out um, with. I know the story behind this. He was supported by his lawyers because he didn't have the money to buy into the IP protection that he needed, and so the lawyers that he um, first talked to said, "We will support you until you get until things start working out." And within 6 months, he was earning money, and essentially that firm of lawyers are still his lawyers because they showed him loyalty at the beginning. And then the third person there is Oprah Winfrey, who is not only a television celebrity, but she is also a very successful businesswoman. She has like a whole media empire in the States, which is obviously a global thing. And not only think about the celebrities, but also think about people that you know who run businesses. There are people around you, maybe friends and family, who, work for themselves. Maybe they're a freelance, maybe they're somebody that makes a product, or maybe they have a service that they provide for people. Those are people who are also entrepreneurs. So, you probably know these people already. And thirdly, although you may have doubts about whether you yourself are entrepreneurial and whether you can actually go through with launching a business that becomes successful, I'm going to help you in this presentation to understand exactly what you need to launch a business so you can make an informed decision about whether being an entrepreneur is right for you. Oh, uh, oops, my slides got stuck, so I'm going to. Okay, there we go. So who is this for? Um, this presentation is for people who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs. Maybe they've got a business that they run alongside their day-to-day job. That's often called a side hustle, where you're earning money by providing a product or a service to people outside the time that you're working for somebody else. And also early stage founders, people who've just launched, people who haven't yet scaled, because a lot of these things that I'll be talking about today are actually relevant to people who've already set out on this journey and are keen to learn how to scale so that they might have, let's say, $1 million idea. So, secondly, this is for people who've got 5 or more years of work experience who can um, adapt the skills that they've got from their lives and their professional knowledge to build a successful business. These might be professionals in transition. They might be people who've been burnt out by working for corporate businesses. Or they might be people who've run businesses before and have been like damaged by things that went wrong in that process. Also, might be people who are parents whose children have left home, or it might be that there are adults who are looking after either children or older people, perhaps their parents, who are in kind of need of being looked after. And suddenly their need to look after those people is over. So maybe they start thinking about launching a business. And there are other people who get very enthusiastic about a particular cause. Maybe they're an activist, maybe they're a religious person, maybe there's some kind of charity that they're interested in. And so all of those people can be defined as being like a mission-driven individual. They really want to see something happen because of some, external driving force. Or they might be people who are tired of being a freelancer or a consultant because essentially they're working for somebody else. So that might well be you. And then this is also for people who are serious about understanding what it means to be an entrepreneur, what the entrepreneurial process involves. So all of these people in all of these categories, they're often asking questions like, what's next for me? Is it too late to start something new? How do I build something that aligns with the life that I want now? So that might well be you. You might well be in that situation. And here's a list of things that, maybe this masterclass isn't for. So maybe people who just want to create a product or develop a service without doing the hard work of finding out whether or not that product or that service is actually going to have customers. Are they going to be able to sell what they're offering? Oops. Secondly, um, if you're more interested in the kind of fancy frilly stuff like designing logos or building websites or setting up a business before you've actually got a viable business, that's been validated. Um, and if you find that process more exciting and important than actually finding paying customers, then again, this process probably isn't for you because you're thinking about the wrong things. And thirdly, if you're looking to make a lot of money very quickly without actually working extremely hard, because starting a business is a very difficult thing in terms of time and energy, then again, this process may not be for you. So who am I? I'm somebody that spent nearly 40 years launching businesses. I'm a career entrepreneur. I'm really passionate about helping other people follow the path of becoming an entrepreneur. And, to try and help them avoid some of the mistakes that I've made when I've launched my own businesses in the past. So over all that time, I have launched some businesses that haven't worked out, and I've lost money, and I've wasted time and energy on ideas that didn't work because I didn't follow the right rules and follow the right process. And then things started working out for me when I realized the reason why some of my businesses failed, and I looked at the data. So that led to the realization that startups that fail follow predictable patterns, and that by avoiding those mistakes, success becomes much more likely. So the result now is that I know exactly where to start when I launch a business, and I have a proven and tested process for when I launch a business that leads to success. And I have the confidence that I am taking the right steps in order to launch businesses and that I can help other people do that as well. And the reality is I'm still in the middle of launching businesses. So it's not something you ever stop doing if you are an entrepreneur. So what's the core belief? What's the one big thing that people need to understand? That essentially that there is a tried and trusted process that successful entrepreneurs follow, and that to be successful, you don't need to have a gut feeling or luck. It comes from following a structured process and be willing to listen to your customers and find their feedback rather than judging whether or not a business is a good idea based on your own feelings or your own opinions or, your prejudices or your assumptions. And this matters because if you don't do the work of following the process and actually asking customers whether they'll buy from you, then if you're setting up a business, you're in danger of wasting money and time, chasing ideas or trying to sell things to people that they don't want, because you based it on a feeling rather than a real demand in the marketplace. So if you don't base your business ideas on what customers are telling you, then it's really hard to adjust your strategy and move forward confidently in the future if you're not listening to people. So here's an example of the old method that of common mistakes that people make. One big mistake is that people build things or make things or design things, maybe a product or a service, before they validate it. In other words, that before they've found out from customers whether or not that's something they want to buy. And the problem is that as human beings, we like to be creative. We like to build things. We like to design logos, for example. We like to think up company names for businesses that we want to set up. But the danger is that we do that, or there's a pitfall in perhaps trying to do that before you've worked out whether or not people want to buy your product or your service. And this doesn't work because if you're creating products and brands in isolation from getting feedback from paying customers, it means that you don't really know what you're doing. You can't see any results from what you're doing, so you might actually be just spinning your wheels. If you don't understand what is driving your customers to buy from you, then you're risking wasting money, wasting time on building something that nobody wants to buy from you. So here are some secrets to success. Secret one, you don't need to be an extrovert. And by extrovert, I mean, you get energized by being around other people. That's not necessary. There are plenty of introvert entrepreneurs who are successful. So the false belief is that you need to be extrovert to be successful, and that's just false. And the reason this is wrong is that although you need to be able to talk to people, it's more important to show empathy and understanding with your potential customers than it is to be somebody that's outgoing on the outside. Because success in being an entrepreneur comes from listening to people and responding to their needs, not just from being, a charming person or a charismatic person. So the solution to this is to trust the process and just realize that you can overcome your shyness and your self-doubt by, emphasizing this idea of listening to people and responding to what they say to you, rather than feeling like you have to be the life and soul of the party, even if you're a naturally introverted person. So the second secret to success is you don't have to waste time and money on thinking about launching a business. The false belief is that you're going to waste lots of time and energy and money and it will probably fail. Oops, click the wrong button again. So this is wrong because there is a way of avoiding that if you follow a structured process that follows on idea validation before you invest any real time and resources in building something. So the solution is to understand how to shift your mindset so that the ideas that you come up with, you test those efficiently and avoid some of the common pitfalls that lead to business failure. So, secret to success number 3. Markets research that you do doesn't equal idea validation. So what do we mean by that? people sometimes think that if you do a lot of research and you read a lot of articles and perhaps you look at some data that other people have generated, that it means that you have a good idea that's going to make you money. Well, that's actually a false belief. And the reason it's false is that market research just simply isn't the same as validation, idea validation of your idea. Just because a market exists for a product or a service doesn't mean that you are the right person to make money in that market, because a lot of other factors are going into that, your own personal qualities, your own experience, your own skill levels of things. So just because you've identified a good idea that would work in a particular market, it might be that you're not the right person to exploit that opportunity and to find paying customers for your products and services. Oops. So a solution to that would be to look at the ideas that you have from a personal perspective and understand that validation comes from your customer engagements, through your channels, by testing your hypotheses about your ideas and your assumptions, and then by running tests and little experiments with customers to find out in much more detail whether or not they'll buy your products or your service. And so, in summary, there is no such thing as failure, really. It's all this whole process, this whole iteration of having ideas and trying things out and seeing whether people buy from you. It's all a learning process that you can feed into the next thing that you do, the next business idea that you have. So, some challenges that you might face, that it's quite hard to shift from having a kind of creative response to wanting to generate lots of ideas for businesses to a more scientific focus for actually testing your ideas in the marketplace with real customers. And that shift can be sometimes quite hard for people. So how do we help? We provide tools. There are some courses that 12Ronnies, my business, um, can offer you. There's coaching, and there's some resources that we can help you to validate ideas that you have. There is a community of people within the 12Ronnies field. We have a community platform called Founders and Mentors, which you're very welcome to join. It's free to join, where you'll find like-minded entrepreneurs working together to validate the ideas that they've got. And just give yourself time, and how I can help there is to maybe help you with, your time management, maybe think about how much time you give to certain aspects of what you're trying to do with your business, and learn to adjust and learn the process of setting up your business so that it's got much more chance of being successful. So we've come to a fork in the road. There's an easy way to move forward and there's a hard way to move forward. And you'll see that on the left-hand side, the easy way, if you choose to work with me and my colleagues at 12Ronnies, then it's a much smoother road for moving ahead to uh, to launch a business that's got every chance of being successful. And yet on the right-hand side, the hard way is when you choose to do everything yourself. It's certainly possible, but it'll take you a long time, and you might make some kind of basic errors, which almost guarantee that you're not going to succeed with your business, and that would be a shame because you're putting a lot of hard work and energy and resources, time, money, that kind of thing into launching your business. So, what can 12Ronnies offer? Well, we have an entrepreneurial program that you might be interested in finding out more about. It's all about building people as entrepreneurs. So, giving them professional development skills in becoming a much more robust and kind of skillful person when it comes to actually launching their business with with the prospects of it being very successful. And this program that we run, it takes place over 12 months. but it involves weekly workshops and masterclasses, a lot of mentoring and coaching, access to our 12 Ronnies community. As I say, that's called Founders and Mentors. We help you with testing and validating tools and with coaching on that aspect. And we help you with kind of AI assisted strategy and tools that kind of back up, the AI side of things, and ongoing support from mentors and experienced entrepreneurs who've been successful, who we call strategists. And as a bonus, we give you potentially, if you join the program, you can get exclusive access to people who might invest in your business once they know that it's going to be successful. And also, we're going to be running business plan competitions where there'll be sort of financial rewards for people who win those prizes, which they can put into their businesses. So this is a kind of diagram which shows how our program will work. So at the bottom, there's this validation lab. As I say before, the process of validating your idea is at the very basis of everything that we do. So you have to validate whether people are going to pay you to have their idea or their service. And then above that, there's coaching in the foundations of setting up a business. And then the data room is a kind of closed off area where you can put all your data that you get from testing things out with potential customers and the results, your analytics, your feedback from people. And then above that, toolset mastery is coming to grips with all these resources and working out how they work in your particular environment. And then, putting all of that together is to, go on a program to teach you how to launch your business in a very structured way so that the aeroplane can take off, the rocket can launch, so that we can get your business into the air in the most efficient and smooth way, and to give it its, the best chance that it's got of making $1 million, let's say. So here's another way of looking at it. It's like a kind of journey that you're going on, like a tube map almost, or a subway map. So at the top, we've got the validation lab, which is clarifying and testing your startup idea using experiments. Foundations coaching is to get input, which is tailored to you about how to build your idea on solid ground. And then the data room is to gather proof from customers to give you insights and feedback into whether or not they're going to buy your product or your service. Expert review is all about pitching your idea to mentors and founders and investors to get kind of live feedback through the process of the 12-month program that we run. And then the toolset mastery is harnessing real founder tools to model your business and to test your potential for growth with that business. And then being launch ready is all about becoming graduating to your launch with a clear roadmap of what you need to do to make sure that all your systems are working and to ensure that you're ready to pitch to investors at the right moment when they are willing to listen to you. So, just running through some objections that you might have. Firstly, that you can't justify the investment. Well, the reality is that if you don't actually invest in something, then you may well be stuck for another 12 months. It's not an expense in a way, it's an investment in your own development as an entrepreneur to get clarity and momentum and to follow a proven path, which has led to lots of people being successful with their businesses. So, secondly, you might have imposter syndrome. You might think that you're not sufficiently entrepreneurial. And essentially, that's what this program does. It kind of takes people who may feel a bit kind of, a bit of an imposter, and it helps them to develop the skills and to develop confidence to make sure that they feel like an entrepreneur by the end of the process. So, thirdly, you might have tried other programs and they didn't work. Um, but the reality is that a lot of programs they focus on building things without actually teaching you that you need to validate your ideas in the marketplace before you do anything. And that's why those programs didn't work. And some people who've launched businesses before, they might feel a bit scared that they might fail again. But we teach that actually, if you fail, that's not the problem. Because if you fail, but you've taken all the steps to validate your idea, and even with all that validation, people still didn't buy your product or your service, then that isn't failing without data. And what we mean by failing blind is that those people who just launch stuff without finding out whether anybody wants to buy it or not, they're taking a big risk because they haven't found out from real customers whether or not they're going to buy your service or your product. So other people might think, well, this sounds amazing, but I'm too busy to take part in this program. And we say, well, this is why we built the program over 12 months, because there's plenty of an opportunity for people to, engage with us and the program when they've actually got time to do that. You don't need to be in there full time. There's a flexible structure. It means that you can make progress over a couple of hours a week, or it might be that you've got more time than that to spend inside our program. But the accountability is built in. We can help you to develop at your own pace in your own way, but according to the principles that are, designed to help you be successful. Now, other people might say that they don't yet have an idea for a business. Well, that's perfect. You're in the right place. We can help you develop a strategy for coming up with ideas that have the potential to be million-dollar ideas. So you don't need a perfect concept. You just need to be willing to explore being an entrepreneur. So another objection might be, this is just another online course that you won't finish. But the reality is this isn't a course, it's a transformation over a year. So it's more about building you up to be a successful entrepreneur rather than teaching you particular skills or tips or techniques for, gaming, the marketplace. This isn't about that. It's about building you up, about transforming you from the person that you are today to the person that you will be in 12 months' time, who has the potential to be a successful entrepreneur. So other people might think, well, maybe this isn't ethical, you don't want to be pushy or manipulative in business. And we would say that, being an ethical entrepreneur is all about, it's at the heart of this program that we're offering. It's not about offering kind of, get rich quick solutions or golden bullets, or silver bullets rather. um, it's about helping you to develop businesses that you feel passionate about and that you feel as though are authentic to your own personality and character. So what's next? So the first step is to take on board what you've learned from this masterclass. And the second step is to book a consultation call with 12Ronnies. Um, and the person who takes most of these calls is my colleague Simon Chrisman. And you'll see his Calendly link there. So if you're interested in getting in touch with him and booking a slot to chat with Simon, then I would encourage you to take a screenshot of this slide so that you can remember the link to go to his Calendly link so that you can book your call on that platform. And in terms of our 12-month program, we're running this. This is the first time that we've run it. So it's essentially we're learning as we go in terms of, even though we've got a lot of experience in running this kind of thing, this particular 12-month program that we're running, we are only taking on 20 people to start with um, for this comprehensive 12-month program. Um, so because we need to test that everything's working before we then make it open to absolutely, as many people as we can on board. But there will be fresh opportunities to join the program every quarter. So there'll be 4 joining opportunities a year. Um, and it might be that because this is something that people pay for, it might be that you don't have the financial resources right now, but it's something you're interested in doing. So maybe you come back in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, when you've actually saved the money to become somebody that um, wants to join our program. And successful entrepreneurs are always, one of the reasons they're successful is because they're prepared to invest in their own success. So and people that don't do that often fall by the wayside because they just don't have the commitment to be successful. So that's us. If you want to go and have a look at 12Ronnies' website, you'll see the webpage on there. My email address is on there. You can reach me at that email address. Again, if you'd like to follow up with with any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer questions either via email, or I'm going to stop the screen now and find out whether you have any questions in real time. So I'm going to bring Martin into the room. Oops.
Hello.
Hello, Martin. I'm going to bring you in now. So you'll be able to start your video. So maybe just give me your reflections on what you heard and whether that's of interest to you.
Oh, should I put my video on? Is it working?
It You should be able to get in now. If you want to start your video, you should be able to. Okay. Can you start your video now?
Ah,
Yes.
yeah, I think so.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming. It's really good to see you.
It's it was really surprising that I was just me in here. Well, I have a question. Obviously, it's just that there is a million ideas with AI right now we can have, and I even had an idea for the business to have about business ideas. Just generating research and client base, and then sell those ideas. But again, it's like I feel like there is always something more about the things like that. Like in here, I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I can imagine it is working, but is it something that will really work in this, business environment?
Yeah.
Maybe you have some ideas that could be better about that.
Well, as I said in the presentation, it's all about finding out whether people will actually buy yeah, I mean, with these AI ideas that you have, you're maybe thinking about a product or a service that you'll develop. And essentially, what you need to do is to think about ways of testing whether people will pay you money for those products or your services. So, there are different ways in which you can do that. You can maybe, develop a very small part of your idea to see whether people are interested in that. Maybe you can set up a landing page to say, hey, I'm developing this thing. You know, if you're interested in buying this from me, here's a bit of information about it. Maybe you'll go on a waiting list until I've developed it. Or maybe you can pre-sell it to people. You can say, this is something I'm developing. Would you like to be one of the first people to get this by giving me a bit of money up front to, so that I can develop it, or even things like crowdfunding, you know.
So, I mean, I was talking about this project I still do. It's more like a social project right now. It has element that potentially could be for sale, but that's like later when I'm going to have it done completely. Um, but yeah, it's like for example, one of the thing is brain sensing. and the difficulty is about what sort of sensor I would like to have for that, because you can have basic sensors and you can have very advanced sensors, and then I can talk to people about being able to do something better with advanced sensors. But is it the point, since it costs so much, that kind of sensors to get?
Well, again, it's something you'll need to work out whether people are prepared to pay for. I mean, clearly, if you're just building something for your own interest and you don't intend to sell it to anyone, then that's entirely up to you whether you spend the time and energy and resources in building something that is just for your own use. Maybe that's perfectly fine. Do that. But if you're intending to sell the product or the service to other people, then you have to find out whether or not people are prepared to pay for it before you really spend much time and energy. You know, I mean, what you can do, if you think of an idea as having two parts to it, okay, there's the what is the idea? Now, the thing about
Mhm.
an idea is that there might be a million people in the world who are who've had the same idea that you've had. So the idea itself isn't the valuable thing. The really valuable thing is the how do I make money from developing this idea? And that's the thing that you keep secret. So if you can tell people I'm developing an AI product which is going to, do X, Y, Z, that's fine. You can tell people about that because if you don't, then nobody's ever going to know that you're working on something like that. But what you don't tell them is, this is how I'm going to do it, or here's the prompt. You know, you don't give away, how you're going to do it.
Um, there is many ideas like that. Like, for example, just checking the emotional state of a person based on their time domain waveform. Like when you use the chat GPT, there is the waveform created after you speak or while you speak, and
Mhm.
there is a way to basically check it, like analyze it, and then tell about the emotions of the people. And the funny thing is that no one really realized that something like that is there always and could be potentially, analyzing human emotions all the time. And it's not being used for like personal use, because it can really tell about the emotional state
Yeah.
of the moment and past and probably future as well, if this would be running on the good model.
I,
But
I
is
think
it
I,
something?
I think what you need to work out is who are your customers. I mean, it sounds like a device like that, you're not going to be selling to individual people unless they've got a lot of money. So it might be, think about in the health field, is this something a hospital might buy or a doctor or, a mental health person or, organization, you know? Who would be the people who would then use your tools as diagnostic ways of finding out about people who are their patients, for example, because
And
those people might have money, but you'll be able to find out from them. You might be, what you're developing there is it might be more of a B2B type service, like a business to business kind of um, or you are a business, and if you see the hospital, if you like, as a business, then you're going from you and you're selling to an organization of some sort.
when you say that, something sounds amazing and simple. Okay, I have a health application, I'm going to the hospital right now. But when it comes to having it done and then going to the hospital, it feels like the way there is full of people exactly with the same application I already have done, and
Well,
everyone
they
is on
may
their
do,
way.
but they're not you. I mean, what you have to do is to work out in a very objective way what it is about you, you know, Martin Bielecki or Bilecki. Like, sorry if I mispronounced your name. You are a unique human being. So you are somebody with a particular set of skills and experiences and knowledge and understanding of AI, let's say, and that's unique to the world. No one else, even if they're developing a similar kind of product with AI, has got exactly the same fingerprints, if you like, in terms of how they've lived their life as you have. And even if they did, you have a particular personality. So you're, the way in which you engage with the world. Are you an extrovert? Are you an introvert? Are you somebody that, likes selling, or maybe you don't like selling, or maybe you like building relationships over time, or, all of these kind of things. They're going to be different. So it's going to make you as a person
Yeah.
almost the most important thing in your business because that's the thing which is going to be different from anybody else, even if they're developing a similar idea. So that's what I mean about, when I said that the idea itself isn't the important thing. Because even if you have 100 people developing the same thing that you're developing, so because of their own way, their own experience, their own skills, their own talents, their own business life previously, the way they've integrated all of that information is that they will design something that even if it's the same idea, it will look and feel very different from what you want to develop.
So, question one more maybe. There is like you have two entrepreneurs. One is doing something out of passion, and you sort of like supervise it. Maybe you can give a hand, and see how this goes. And the other is a person who took the idea actually from you, because he didn't have, and he's still working it. And you do the same, just supervise and
But
and,
even,
and
I mean, the thing is, even if somebody steals your idea, which is unlikely, because at the moment at which you're developing an idea, because you haven't validated it yet, people won't steal ideas from people where they don't know that it's going to be successful, because there's no guarantee that that idea, even if they steal it, is ever going to make any money. So why do that in reality they've got loads of their own ideas that they want to develop? Yeah.
yeah.
So it only becomes a possibility that somebody will steal your idea. Let's say you develop an AI tool and it starts to be successful, you start making some money. Then once you start earning money from your idea, then suddenly your thing becomes visible. And then other people might think, oh, look, like Martin over here is making money with this AI tool. You know, maybe there's some value in what he's doing. Let's go over and see what he's doing. Um, but at that point, once you started earning some money, then you might be earning enough money to think about actually putting some trademark protection behind it, or which I wouldn't do to start with, because again, you're just spending money on things that you haven't validated yet. You need to find out whether something's going to be successful before you bother trying to protect the intellectual property. I mean, it's a delicate balance because if you're then wanting to get, well, as I said before, um, if you're validating an idea and you're starting to get customers, you're earning money, then all of that is data. It's proof that you've got a market that is paying you for your products or your service. So as time goes on, then as you're building money, there will be a moment where it's a good idea to protect your idea if you can, because one of the things that people invest in, if you're looking for investment, is some guarantee that it's not simply going to a successful idea that's earning money isn't simply going to be stolen if they invest money in something. So if you have a trademark, for example, or I don't know whether AI programs can be patented. Maybe they can. I don't know. I've not looked at that. But if in future you go through that process, if it was able to be patented, then you have protection over your idea the moment that you start a patent application. So even if it takes 3 years to actually get the protection, that's okay because they backdate it to when you actually started the application. But again, there's no point in doing that until you know that you've got an idea which is going to make you money.
Have you ever had anyone, for example, who started doing something, say, or kind of a person, that kind of, model, started doing something in AI and then, started doing something in AI for a company, not necessarily being directly employed, but like a business, say, open AI.
Well, I know of people who are offering themselves, their services as consultants to develop tools for people. but I guess it's more difficult. I mean, I do know of people who are. Oh, I'll send you actually. I can't think of it off the top of my head. There is a company I know who develops AI tools for people in the publishing industry. I mean, you don't earn a lot of money. It might only be, say, $30 to get access to a tool that these people have developed. Um, but by making it low cost, and I appreciate what you were talking about is quite an expensive thing by the sounds of it. But let's say an AI tool that you develop is quite cheap. Then if you're offering it to people for, say, $25, $30, then what's the point in stealing it? Because it's such a low cost thing, you may as well just buy it. And I guess, the uh but as I said to you before, if somebody then starts using that and tries to rebrand it as their own, then the way in which they do it will be different from what you're doing, you know. And by making it low cost, you're providing a disincentive for people to steal from you. Because what's the point in spending all that time and energy developing something, from scratch, you know?
Well,
Um,
exactly that. And I mean, I have ton of ideas. It's just that I'm not sure which one exactly. I mean, I have this big project going, but that's like very big for the future. And
yeah.
in the meantime, some of the things that I could do are related, and some of them not. And I'm not sure which one should I pick right now, just to start doing it for a quick buck like that, basically.
Okay. Well, as I say, just pick the one that you're most passionate about, that you think you do a bit of research. Who is the ideal customer? Work out, how you're going to make money, and then do some testing, to try and validate your idea. And then, I mean, if you want to, I've got to go now because I've got another meeting I'm going to. But if do come back to a Wisdom of Coffee, gathering soon, because I know you've been to that before. When you're free and about, we can carry on chatting about this kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you for today, and see you later.
All right, Martin, thanks so much for coming. Bye bye.